Eternal Strands is a fantasy action RPG from Yellow Brick Games that combines a lot of the marquee features of some of the most enjoyable entries in the genre into a small, digestible package that creates an addicting loop of adventuring and discovery. Set in a world ravaged by a magical cataclysm called the Surge, you take control of Bryn, a newbie member of a seasoned adventuring party that finds themselves chased into and trapped inside a magical dome. This dome surrounds the Enclave, an ancestral city-state for the world's magic users that essentially abandoned the rest of the world when shit hit the fan. Left with few options, Bryn and her party must explore this lost land to hopefully find a way out and learn why it was sealed away. The initial premise of Eternal Strands didn't do much to hold my attention. Bryn is a plucky young weaver, the world's equivalent of a battle mage, but I didn't find her or the supporting cast of party members the least bit engaging. I will say that dialogue with the group is surprisingly nuanced, in that Bryn seems especially good at analyzing other people's feelings, and you'll be presented with several options on how best to respond to a party member who's maybe feeling anxious about a situation. But I was much more impressed by the dialogue system than the actual conversations, and eventually ignored the talk option altogether in order to maximize my time adventuring. It took a couple of expeditions for the gameplay loop to click for me, but once it did, I found a familiar yet compact experience where the world outside your home base is essentially dangerous wilderness, and your desire to explore it is only hamstrung by your ability to survive it. Your combat options allow you to hot swap between a couple melee weapons and a small collection of elemental spells that you'll be able to use in tandem, freeze enemies in place with an ice spell to wind up a big two-handed sword swing, or grab a far-off foe with gravity magic to bring them into range for sword and shield combat. You'll eventually be able to craft more powerful tools and magic to blur those lines further, creating weapons that utilize magic all on their own. Monsters and enemies you defeat will drop resources you'll use to improve gear, which you'll lose should you get defeated out in the field. Crafting and upgrading is smartly simplified in that all materials fall into just a few categories, like metals, wood, and fabric, and can be swapped out for higher quality materials of the same category without losing anything you've used. This even allows you to edit an item you've already crafted by swapping some of the materials for better ones, or simply ones with different traits. It was devilish fun to deck Bryn out in armor that made her highly fire resistant in order to take down a wandering dragon that lit me up the previous outing. The boss-like battles with towering creatures that roam the different areas are epically emergent showdowns that may take you from one end of a map and back before you can claim victory. Being able to climb all over these enemies to target pieces of armor or reach weak points is a harrowing thrill that does not get old. Neither does getting caught off guard and being thrown 100 feet away when you lose grip. It also can't be understated how much the interactivity of the world itself helps to elevate all of the combat. Wooden structures and statues can be razed to the ground. Debris from those structures can be flung around as projectiles. Fire spreads in the fields, damaging you and enemies alike, and enemies of different factions may get into battles amongst themselves. I've used ice to create makeshift bridges to cross gaps, and flung annoying enemies off the sides of ledges. Even caught fireballs in midair to send back at my attacker. The environment feeds as much into the gameplay as any other system Bryn has at her disposal. It's made even more dynamic with changing features like weather and day-night cycles, which encourage you to revisit older areas with newer abilities for side quests or targeted material farming. While its characters and world building left me lukewarm, Eternal Strands' system-based gameplay carries the flame of a number of bigger action RPGs, like Dragon's Dogma, Breath of the Wild, and Shadow of the Colossus. It's just a ton of fun and a nice reminder that this level of emergent gameplay isn't reserved for just the big boys. The game is out now for $49.99 on PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X and S, and is included in Xbox Game Pass.